What's going on, guys? Chris here. So I haven't done any videos on the MR1 in a while, and the reason for that is that my cable management was such a disgrace. It was frankly pretty embarrassing. It doesn't, that's the only thing. This is an awesome machine, and the company's awesome, the people are awesome, the support is awesome. But the cable management that comes with it is zip ties, and I'm not okay with that. I don't know, you know, my OCD was like thriving. Then again, it's thriving on my whole shop, excuse the mess, but I got to spend some real time cleaning this place up in the coming weeks. But I haven't had a lot of time to spend because I've had some family stuff going on. But now that I have had some time, I finally got around to the cable management with the 30 by 15 millimeter cable chain that I've had here to do this for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. But here it is, it's done. So just figured I would show you guys. And then I also mounted a 15-inch touchscreen monitor, which I can lift up and down. I'll show you that in a minute. And I put it on. This is an arm that I had from my Dodge Ram 1500 years ago before I got my diesels. And I figured I would make use of it because I don't put the computer in the truck anymore. I started my business out of my truck. Now I have a way to mount this, but I ended up ordering a gas arm, like you know, with the gas hydraulics, the gas struts to lift it up and down, so I can just pull it up and down instead of having to make all these adjustments. But it's nice to have a touchscreen right here that I can, you know, I mean, I can start and stop, I can do spindle speed. Let's do 5,000, okay, and turn it on. Or not. What's going on with that? What is up with that? Oh, I didn't turn on the 220 volt. Hello. I only had the 110 on because I was just testing the motion system with the cable chains in, which I'll show you in a second. Let me grab the pendant too also. I ended up getting another pendant. They have these same things you can get on Amazon. And this one doesn't even take the 1 or 2 presses before it moves. It moves right on the first press as it just did. So it's nice. And this is it, like the letters were falling out of the other one. I mean, they don't make them. They just you know, buy them and then sell them. And they sell them for so cheap. I mean, what do you expect? This one was 30 bucks. I think they sell theirs for like 10 or 20. Anyways, so the motion system works good. The cable chain I'll explain to you in a minute, but that's what this was. And then the gas arm that's coming is just it'll just mount to one of the joists, and then it'll swing over, you know, it swings pretty good 180 degrees, and then I can pull it down and it'll stay down, and then it'll stay up when I push it up by a gas strut. So that's that. And then in here, I did the 30 millimeter by 15 millimeter cable chain. And what I did is I sacrificed a couple casters. So that's a caster up top on the pole. And what I did is I ground that down and belt sanded it with my little pneumatic 1-inch or 1/2 inch, whatever it is, belt sander, to where it would be rounded so it can slide down, up, back and forth on this pole. So if you can tell, let me see if I can zoom into it. Let's just move this back a little bit so I can try to let you see. You can't see from there. There we go. So I ground that down to where it's rounded so it'll ride that pole and slide back and forth. And then another caster gave its life for this. On the tool head, it has the same thing. So that is another, well, I cut the caster off, and I made holes in it to mount the cable chain, and then I used the 1 bolt at the bottom. I cut off the part that had the retaining ring, and I threaded it, and then I put a big lock nut on the bottom with a washer. So that's held in there very, very well. It's not going anywhere. And then I just did the two I call them, I'm having a brain fart right now. I call them, they're wire conduit. The residential ones have a name that I'm having a brain fart right now. I can't think of, but that I use wire mold. It's wire mold, you call it, in and when I do something in a house that they need to add something and they don't want to open up the wall. So it's wire mold in a house. This is it's black plastic electrical, for like electronic more than electrical. So it's not like metal conduit like that. But it does the job. It gets the cable management done, because there was a big bee's nest of cables up there. I just got to snip a couple zip ties up there, but I used, even for the one wire that goes to this motor that couldn't go through the cable chain or either of these because it has to move back and forth, I just used some automotive cable shield and some strain relief on each side. I'll show you. It gets full motion, no problem. So the cable chain pretty much extends the whole way, but when it gets to the very end, which it's almost there, it can pull that wheel can move. So and then right to left, it has no problem going right to left, because this will move on the caster. You see, that's what I'm talking about right there. You can probably see it better now. That's on a caster. So that's got its motion. I grease the bearings, and the water doesn't really get above that with the coolant going. I have a piece of 20 by 20 hollow aluminum bar stock, square stock, that I was going to soft limit reach. Oh, I gotta home it. See, there's certain things that you can't do with the pendant unless there is key designations for it, but I don't know what they are if there is. And also, I bought an Xbox controller to try to use that, and I made the key assignments for the Z-axis, the X-axis, the Y-axis, and it doesn't want to work. It works on other parts of my computer, but this computer, but it won't work like that. It won't work in this program for some reason. I haven't taken the time to figure out why. I know how to do programming, and I'm sure I could figure it out. I just don't. I haven't taken the time, and I don't really feel like taking the time right now. I wanted to take time to do more important stuff like this. This was bothering me every time I used the machine, which is fairly frequently. So I wanted to clean it up and oil it up, and my lathe too, and then I'm going to get the cleaning. But the important machines get the attention before anything. But so that's what I wanted to show you guys, the cable management, if it gives you any ideas, hopefully. And then also, while I was doing that stuff, I took the time to replace almost every single bolt that I was touching, that I was moving, with number 8 hardware, or 10.8, which is the metric equivalent, but they're flange nuts. So, like for instance, on the tool head, you'll see I put all black flange nuts right here. There's number 8s right here, number 8s up top. Like everything I had to open, I replaced with top of the line hardware. And even all the mounting screws, those plastic little screw things, threaded piece of plastic that were holding in the panels, I put all number 8 M6 bolts that I tapped to. These were, I believe, 1/4 20. I don't really do standard sizes anymore. Everything is metric, even like my car. I have a Dodge Challenger, a Dodge Ram, a GMC Sierra. They're all metric. Everything's metric. My 3D printers are metric. My air guns are metric. My guns are metric. Everything is metric. I don't know. This is standard. I mean, it's American made with Chinese parts. So I mean, I don't know. They chose to use standard. Maybe somebody there that builds them likes standard. That's probably all it is. But to me, I like metric, and I've adapted. I used to use all standard, and I still do with like carpentry and stuff like that on jobs. And I still use square feet and all that. But when it comes to machining and 3D printing, metric is the way to go, because a millimeter is so much smaller that there's 25 in an inch, and then a micrometer there's 1,000 of a millimeter, a thousandth of a millimeter instead of a thousandth of an inch. So with micrometers, you have 25 one thousandths of an inch instead of 1,000 one thousandths of an inch. It's a much more intricate, and it's a much more accurate and precise measurement. So I mean, you can only go so far with that, with thousandths, and then you're using tenths of thousand. It's just easier to do it in microns and millimeters, and it makes more sense. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not, you know, all these fractions. Anyways, that's my preference. But and plus the rest of the whole world uses it. I don't know how, you know, everyone else in the world uses it, not America. Well, yeah, I guess it's to be expected with this country, but what are you going to do? I'm not going to get into that topic. Anyways, the machine. So, and then I 3D printed this little holder for the probe, which is pretty cool because that was in my drawer full of milling bits, which I didn't really like. I mean, it wasn't the end of the world, but it's nice to have a good spot for it. And I put that on a really strong 100-pound magnet, so I can just pull it off and move it wherever I want. And then also I took some time and I organized my milling bit drawer, and I printed out all these holders for, this is obviously wood, but the other holders for all the milling bits, and I organized all my milling bits. And my lathe bits, not so much yet, but I'm starting. And my lathe got all oiled up. It didn't get cleaned up so much, but I use my stuff. That's why I have it. I don't have it here for decoration or to impress people. I have it here because I actually use it. So it looks like it's actually been used, because it has, as recently as an hour ago. As far as the MR1, the only other modification I'm probably going to do, I already have the LED strip lights back here. I was going to put like an LED, I'll show you what I mean. The little strip lights, you just solder wires to it. So it looks like this, and it's incredibly bright. This right here. It's just a little strip of LED. But these are so bright. I mean, I don't really have any lack of light with the big 2x4 LED drop ceiling light above it, but I mean, you know, more can't hurt. And these are waterproof if you seal them right after you solder it. So I was thinking about putting a little piece right under the tool head. So I probably will do that. I mean, I already have the power supply right here too. This is a DIN rail mount, 10 amp, 24 volt power supply. So this is what this takes 24 volt, and I have plenty more of the lights if I need to, if I want to go longer. I'll probably power this, and then I was thinking I was going to do like a turbo fan above it so that after I use the coolant, it'll dry quicker. I mean, this is an exhaust fan with, I have a crazy amount of airflow through this workshop. This has the fan that's in it, and it has a 800 CFM inline 8-inch fan, and then I have a there's a 3000 CFM Vortec 12-inch that goes into the exhaust. They all go exhaust right outside. So there's plenty of airflow in here, but I wanted to have something not sucking out, blowing right on this so that it dries quickly after I use the coolant. Because, you know, the more time water sits, or, you know, even with the ferrous metal coolant, it's still a lot of it is water, and you don't want anything resembling rust in these things. So you got to oil them frequently, which I'm getting better with myself. Not that I've been bad with it, I just haven't, like, you know, my maintenance standards are pretty high, and I haven't been keeping to my own standards. So that's already changing. So I'm going to be keeping to those standards. Also, I know that I even mentioned this to the guys at Langmeyer, and they were actually like, well, we were looking for a way to do that. I put a 3-inch surfacing bit. So this was another surfacing bit. It was a 2-inch, and what I did, I was using the 2-inch, but then I ended up using the 3 because I resurfaced my brake rotors and whatnot. But I took this out of, this was the original mount, and it was this wide. So I turned that down on the lathe, and what was left was not, it was hollow. So what I did is I cut it off, and I took a piece of solid steel bar stock. I turned it down to the right size for this, or just a little bit bigger with a slight taper on the end, and then I put it in the vise and I forced it in, and then I checked it, double checked it, triple checked it that it was perfectly straight, and it is. This thing operates smoother than a regular bit. It really, I'll show you because you probably don't believe me. I wouldn't believe me either, but you will in a minute when you see it. So I did that. I forced it in there. Then I welded it. I MIG welded it. I was thinking about TIG welding it, but usually I just do that for aluminum. So I did all steel. So I MIG welded it, and then then I turned it again after I MIG welded it and sanded it down a little bit. I turned it so it was nice and, you know, if you can see that lip, it's nice and flush. It's very smooth and it's very straight. You'll see. I mean, if it wasn't, you would definitely hear it in the machine. As soon as I turned the spindle on, it would be making all kinds of noise from vibration if it was even off at all. So I got lucky that worked out as well as it did. Oh, and I don't know if anybody else knows, or if you have one of these and know or don't know. I didn't know. The motor is not a direct drive. It actually has a timing belt, which I just assumed it was direct drive because it looked like it was, but it's not, which is great because I had a noise coming from the spindle motor, and then before you know it, it was like sputtering and it wasn't turning correctly. So I find out that it, you know, when I called Langmeyer, that's why I was talking to them, that it could be the timing belt. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know there was a timing belt. I thought it was direct drive. And they said, no, there's a timing belt. I'm like, that's good to hear. I'm glad that there is, because at least if I know, you know, at least I know there's some buffer before the motor goes. But they, I said, can I get a couple of the belts? And I was ready to pay for them. They just sent them to me, no charge. Really, I mean, the guys are awesome there. Really, it's a company I would buy from 100 more times. I can't emphasize that enough, because you guys that have reached out that were concerned with after sales support don't need to be. You really don't need to be. Not with this company. All right, so I'm going to, this is a piece of aluminum bar stock that I cast, and I'm going to loosen this up. Let me see if this will, oh. Yeah, there we go. All right, but this screen, I gotta change the amount of time it does that in, because I don't like that. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna actually change that right now. Where's my mouse? On that screen? What the hell? Oh, I'm hitting. Oh, that's not working either. I don't know what this computer's problem is. You know, this is literally like a workstation PC. With this one, the one in my other smaller workshop where all the 3D printers are, is a lot higher specifications than this one. It's like dual Intel Xeon processors, and you know, like it's got 2 NVIDIA Quadro graphics card. It's like 24 gigabytes of GDDR5. This one is not that high spec, but it is a workstation PC. It's got a single Xeon processor, but it's a little faster than one of the other 2 are. And then it's got an NVIDIA graphics and an onboard Intel on the motherboard, whatever. You know, it's a very up-to-date PC. I just don't know why is it doing dumb shit. I have a lot of stuff on it. That's probably why. But it has like a 2 terabyte main storage hard drive, or main operating hard drive, and then a 4 terabyte storage hard drive, which is less than my other workstation PCs, but it's still a lot. Anyway, it's just frustrating. But I'm gonna make that full screen when it comes back up, and I'll bring the controller over here. I'm gonna take this out and I'll put that back in, because that's right where it needs to be for the for the program that I'm writing. And I'm just going to surface this piece of aluminum bar stock that I cast. So this is usually what happens to all my aluminum chips. They end up being bar stock that I can make something else out of. All right. And I don't use their wrench. I use my ratcheting wrench because I'm being spoiled. Frankly, that's in plain English what I'm doing. Okay, so let me get this too. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to change the amount of time that screen goes on sleep or whatever. Let's see. No, you know what? Let's just go to settings. All right, let's see. Screensaver. Okay, it's not that. So it's the power settings. Power. Where's power system? All right, power settings. Power and sleep. Okay. Oh, that's why. All right, we'll do 5 hours and never. No, I think I'll do 5 hours there too. Okay. All right, that should take care of that. Now we'll make that bigger. All right. Okay, so just so you can hear it for yourself, hear it spin, let's turn this on. So that's on 5,000 RPM. This is actually the first cut I'm making since I cleaned up all the wires. Not that that's a big deal, but and also I couldn't change the speed from I had to go over to the computer. Not that it's very far. Again, I'm probably being just spoiled, but you know, I'd rather have it be convenient when I'm making a cut that's important than have to like get distracted to run over there. Now let you see what's going on here. I'll move it left and right faster. I'm just moving it that slow to go up and down. It's gonna have to go down a little bit. I mean, it cuts smooth, man. It cuts really smooth with that 3-inch. This thing's got the power for it. It really does. I mean, obviously, look at it. It doesn't even need the coolant for this. I'm gonna shut the door though because I'm getting a bunch of aluminum chips thrown at me. And I would prefer not to do that. So let's get off the side of that, bring it down a notch. See, now I'm getting an actual chunk of it. I don't know. I can't really see what this thing does. There we go. That's not quite a full pass. It was uneven on the sides because that's going into an ingot and it's kind of pivoted on the two sides, so I always just surface every side of it. And it's not even worth programming it to do it. I just do it by hand or with the controller. I mean, it's a hell of a lot easier than with a mill. You're pushing a button, you don't even have to turn it. It's easier than the lathe or a mill or anything. And with this surfacing bit, it comes out smooth, like smoother than with a 1/2-inch bit for sure. And then I usually just make one pass over it. Well, I'm gonna go down 1 notch and just make sure I get all that stuff out of there. And actually, I can even go faster than this. So that's 50 inches a minute. I mean, it's only about an 1.5 piece of bar stock, but it's on the 3-inch blade, so it's half of it. But I mean, I've been able to go this fast on bigger pieces, and it doesn't slow it down at all. So let me just stop it, and I'll flip that piece over and do the other side. So if you guys want to see it, it comes out really smooth. There is, see, I needed to go a little bit deeper. See that one pivot in that one pit in the middle? That sucks. But I'll probably, it depends. I might use part of this or whatever. I don't know what I'm going to make with it yet. We'll see. And I'll decide based on that. But if I'm going to use the whole thing, I'll have to go down a little further. That's the only thing about casting. When you pour it into the ingot, you have to pour it very slow. That's the key to it. Really, it is. All right, let's turn it on 6,500 RPMs. You guys can really hear it. Lower than the other side because I just took that side down. I didn't even think about that. All right, 24. Let's go to 50 inches a minute. See, it cuts smooth. It cuts nice and smooth. I mean, I can actually go down further than that and take a bigger chunk. And it still sounds perfectly smooth. I'm gonna go down a little further. So yeah, that's taking a good, that's at least a millimeter there, maybe 1.5. I'm gonna go one more. And then one more cleanup pass. Take a look at it. And it's leaving a little bit of, you know, you can see that. You can't feel it, but you can see it. But it's, the blades probably need to be replaced. These two sides are the only problem. I need to get some more Z height on this thing because even with a 1/2 inch bit like pretty far in there, I won't be able to get that high because it's at the top. So what I'm probably going to do, I've been looking into already lifting up this Z-axis, lifting up the X-rail by using precision ground and machined risers on the two sides underneath the X-axis. So I very well may do that. I don't know if I'm going to machine them myself. I don't. It's not that I don't have faith in this. It's that I want to do gray cast iron because it absorbs vibration very well, and I just don't know. I just don't know that this has the precision that I want. I mean, it's very precise. It probably does. I don't know that I have the precision that I want on risers that are going to go on a machine that's going to reflect every bit of precision in the work. You know what I mean? It's just, I want everything to be extremely precise for this. So I may just send it into, send the CAD file into a company that does that kind of stuff, which I have a couple in mind. But if anybody watching does precision ground stuff in cast iron, feel free to reach out because I definitely want to do that. And I did mention it to Langmeyer, and they said that they are actually working on something for that. Also, you notice I took my set screws because I had to replace one of these because the original Allen key lock bolts got stripped. Both of them were getting stripped. I changed one of them in time. The other one got stripped where I couldn't get it out, and then I drilled it out, and then I broke a tap threading it. On my electric threading arm, so not by hand, but that threading arm, the chuck has a torque setting, the electrical part of it has a torque setting, and it really will stop. The electrical part, if you set the torque lower than the chuck, it'll stop before the chuck. So it's got a mechanical torque limit, it's got an electrical torque limit, but still, nonetheless, I ended up breaking it. I had those limits too high. This is really hard steel. I don't know if it's chromoly. I don't know if it's I don't know what kind of steel it is, but it's some heavy metal. Pardon the pun, but anyways, it's I'm sure it's something that this thing could machine. I haven't found that out yet, luckily, but I'm sure this thing would go through it if you really wanted it to. Soft limit reached. Yeah, I know, because there's no Z height. That's the only negative thing about this machine is the Z height. And I've seen other people like made the bottom go down. I didn't do that, and I did do something wrong. I don't even remember what it was, but I did something wrong with the masonry. I didn't have to chisel out the whole thing, but it was already dry, and I jackhammered it out. Well, not jackhammer. I used my air hammer, my little handheld air hammer for automotive stuff, and I hammered it out. I put a chisel bit in there and I hammered it out, and I took everything out, and I cleaned. It was a big pain in the neck after building this thing. But I did it because I wanted it right. And really, it was something that probably would have been trivial in the end, but it wasn't trivial to me. Like, I wanted it done right, and so I did it. And it was a pain in the ass, but at least it's straight now. And it's nothing. I honestly don't remember what it was. I can't believe that I don't, but I don't. I don't remember what that was because of, but anyways, the bottom line is that I did do it, and they even told me. I talked to them when I was doing the assembly about that, and they were like, listen, I was gonna lose Z height if I hadn't done it. I don't remember what it was, but I was gonna lose Z height, and he said you're gonna end up losing, half an inch of Z height. And I was like, well, listen, I only got 6 to begin with, so I'm not willing to sacrifice half an inch. I'm taking it out, and I did. So I don't remember what it was that took that half an inch, but I do remember that much now. It's been a little while, and this thing is running strong. Like I said, it's only had those few problems. The belt, which the belt wasn't even broken, it just came loose. The nuts that keep it tensioned, which I put number 8 bolts and red Loctite 277, which is what I use on automotive and anything I don't want to move. So that's what I used on here with the number 8 hardware. And I've been re-tapping the bolts rather than the holes, because I'm not going to break another tap off in another part, which that I called them about, and they sent me, I did pay for that, but it was like $40. These vices are $200 from them, but if you look at for low profile vices this size, you can find them up to $600-800. So they're really reasonable as it is, and then $40 to replace. It's just the part with the threads on it that locks in with the ball on the bottom that locks into these indents. But anyways, I was happy to be able to get it for $40. I thought it was very reasonable, and they shipped it right out. And that's the first thing I've had to pay for them pay for from them since I got the machine. And they've been, every time I've had anything go wrong, they've been right there. They respond within a day, if not the same day, usually the same day, depending on the day and time. But they're awesome. I really can't say enough good things. But cable management. So if you guys have one of these, maybe you already did your cable management, maybe not. But if you haven't and you're interested in doing it, this setup works. As you can see, I mean, it works. I'm very happy with it. I'm probably just gonna put something up here to guide this a little bit more, to hold it up. I think I'm gonna probably just use one of the metal zip ties and strap it up one more time. But these metal straps will at least still slide. Oh, it's the wire tension. That's what's keeping it. Because I zip tied the wires to keep them up in the back. That's why it's not sliding. Anyways, it was designed to be able to slide, but now that this thing can pivot, it doesn't really need it. And I may actually just move it a little farther forward and then lock it in place. So maybe I'll cut those zip ties before I cut the ends off. Give it a little more slack and move it forward, and then zip tie it. And then it won't need any more than that. But I wanted it to pivot on the top and bottom either way, so this is what I wanted to do either way. I wanted it to swing up top and swing on the bottom, so when it's going left to right, it can pivot. But this was an easy solution for it. a couple of casters that are just going about their business, waiting to be put on something, and I came along and ruined their day and cut them in pieces, and now they're serving a better purpose. But after being ground down and cut up and welded and drilled and tapped and everything else, but yeah, they're serving a higher purpose now. So anyways, just a couple ideas about the MR1 and some commentary about the after sales support and the company, and that's about it. I just wanted to show you guys the cable management, because I did see some videos. I was doing some research on the cable management myself, and I saw a couple of videos on it, and some guys went extremely overboard, and those are the same guys that, like, when you see their shop in the video, it's like so spotless, which I respect and admire a tremendous amount. I'm just not that guy. Like, first of all, I don't do this for a living. This is not this is not only not my primary function, it's very little of any lucrative part of my life. I do this as a passion and a hobby. I don't really do this for financial gain. I do some custom machining and stuff for certain things, but it's not enough to, it's not even enough to pay for the amount of stuff that I have, let alone, even over the last year or two, it's not enough. My business is complete. I do home improvement and property management. CJ's home improvement and management. So that's what I do. This is just something I enjoy doing and I'm passionate about. So, you know, I invest all this money and time and everything else into this stuff because I love doing it, not because I'm benefiting from it. So I don't take the time to keep my shop immaculate, because I'm in here more than you would think for not being my job, but I'm not in here as much as somebody who does this for a living, or it would be immaculate because my truck and my jobs are. And it drives me nuts every time I'm in here that it's not, but I also don't really have the time to make it immaculate. I'm just spread too thin. So anyways, hopefully you can excuse the mess and not judge me for it, but if I had it my way, it would be immaculate all the time, and you know, and all my stuff would be organized and all that kind of stuff. But I make the progress where I can, when I can. But this was a big thing that was really bothering me, so I'm happy that it's done, and hopefully I'd be even happier if it helps one of you guys figure out your cable management, or how to have a screen that isn't just like a tablet that goes to a real workstation PC that's a touch screen. And if you do need to know anything about that, you do have to configure it. And if you just go into settings on Windows 10 or 11, I don't know about before that, but it's probably not very different. You just type in configure, calibrate. Just put in CALIB, calibrate, and then right there, calibrate the screen for pen or touch input, and then you can pick which display, and then you calibrate it. So right now it's on multiple displays because they're duplicated and not extended, but when I had them extended, you could pick this screen that's built into the computer, or the additional screen, and you have to calibrate each one separately, and then first you have to set up the top button right here when you go to setup, and then that's what will set up the two screens separately, and then you touch somewhere on one of the screens, touch somewhere on the other screen, and then you do calibrate, and you calibrate each one for where the touch is and the sensitivity and whatnot, and then that's it, you're done. And you'll have a separate, if you have two touch screens. If the original screen is not a touch screen, you won't have to do any of that, because it doesn't have to, you know, differentiate between one and the other. But anyways, that's about it. That's about everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today with the MR1. That's about it. Yeah, I will. I'll see you guys soon. Next time I'll make a video where I'm actually machining one of the designs that I did in Fusion, instead of just like doing it with the controller. If any of you guys would have these, you know that they do the post-processing right with Fusion 360. Like they're hooked up with them, which is nice because it makes it a lot easier that they have the post-processing software that can go right in Fusion. It makes it a lot easier to transfer it to cut control. So anyways, have a good day, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and appreciate you guys as always. Have a good day.